Hello everyone, I am back with another video today. I am kind of taking a little break from the Baking Yesteryear cookbook this week. We will be starting the 1930s chapter in that pretty soon. I had a lot of stuff going on this week and wanted something a little easier and quicker to make than some of the first couple recipes in the 1930s chapter. The first recipe in the 1930s chapter is something that you do have to make the day before you bake it because it has to chill in the refrigerator overnight, and I just didn't feel like I had the time it deserved to focus on it, and so I decided to do something a little bit different this week. But I am super excited to be doing this recipe this week because I am really, really excited to finally be making something out of the cookbook that we are going to be using today, which is the Some Like It Hot cookbook. It is a cookbook based off of the Marilyn Monroe movie, Some Like It Hot. I actually found this cookbook maybe about 6 months or so ago and just have not had the opportunity to make anything out of it until today. So I am really looking forward to getting into this just to finally be making something from this cookbook and everything. I've seen bits and pieces of the movie. I've just not been able to sit down and watch it start to finish. I do have to say, what I did see of the movie, I did like it and everything like that. So maybe after my cake is finished, I might sit down and watch it and see what I think about the ending because I have not seen the end of it. But anyway, the recipe we're making out of this today is the bang up banana cake, and that will be made with or served with Daphne's Naturally Blonde frosting. So it's a banana cake, and then the frosting looks like kind of like a lemon cream cheese frosting, which sounds really interesting. The combination of the two sound kind of interesting. Um, so let's get started. All right, so for our bang up banana cake, we are going to start with the cake part of this recipe. And for that, we will be using some butter, sugar. In here, we have baking soda, baking powder, salt, nutmeg, and some cinnamon. We've got some buttermilk here. We've got eggs, which I've separated. I did get a little bit of egg whites into my egg yolks when I was separating them, but it will be fine. It's not going to be that big a deal. Just because it's the egg whites in the egg yolks and really not that big a deal. Anyway, enough about that. We've got some flour, and then we've got some really ripe bananas here. I will go over the ingredients for the frosting when I am ready to make it, and then we will also be using some additional banana slices when we go to assemble the cake. But for now, like I said, we are just going to be starting with the cake portion of this recipe. So let's get started. All right. So for our first step, we are going to cream together the butter and the sugar. Once I have that done, I will be back. All right, so I am done mixing together the butter and the sugar. I've added my egg yolks to the bowl, and there's also vanilla that goes in here that I somehow missed when I was getting all of my ingredients out, and that does get mixed in along with the egg yolks. We are going to beat this for 5 minutes. Once that 5 minutes is up, I will show you guys what this looks like. All right, so that is all mixed together. I am going to kind of clean off my beaters, and I am going to set this aside, and then we will move on to our next step. All right, so the next thing we are going to do is get all of our dry ingredients mixed together. So this is the flour, baking soda, baking powder, salt, cinnamon, and nutmeg. I'm just going to give this a nice little stir here. All right, so I think that is pretty good. We're going to set this aside and we are going to mix up the bananas and the buttermilk. All right, so I put my bananas and I put the buttermilk in my blender here. Um, the book said to put it in a food processor and process it till smooth, or to mash the bananas by hand and then whisk in the buttermilk. Um, I'm kind of improvising here with the blender. I don't have a big enough food processor for all the bananas, and I really didn't feel like doing this by hand, if I'm going to be honest. So I put this all in my blender. I'm going to mix this together until it is smooth. And once that is done, I will show you guys what it looks like. All right, so that is all blended. It is nice and smooth. It looks really good. It kind of makes me want like a banana smoothie or a banana shake right now. But anyway, so let's start getting all of this stuff combined. All right, so we're gonna start combining the dry ingredients and the bananas into our butter mixture. I'm starting with some of the dry ingredients. It said to add about half a cup at a time and then alternate with the banana mixture. Once I have this all mixed together, I will show you guys what this looks like. Okay, so I've got all of our dry ingredients and all of the banana mixture mixed into our butter sugar mixture. I am going to set this aside and I'm going to beat up the egg whites. The recipe did say to add a pinch of salt to the egg whites and some cream of tartar. However, I don't have any cream of tartar, so I'm just going to add a little bit of salt to them and beat them up that way. It's still going to be fine. Once I have those ready to go, I will be back. All right, so my egg whites are all beaten up. I am going to get this mixed in to the rest of the cake batter and then get this in my cake pan. Once it's in the cake pan, I will show you guys what it looks like. All right, so I have this in a springform pan. I am going to get this in the oven and get it baking. I did end up using the bigger of my springform pans for this. It said a 9-inch, which I believe this is bigger than a 9-inch. I think this might be like a 12-inch, but I'm not 100% sure now. The pan that I thought was a 9-inch didn't look big enough, so I switched to this. But let's get this in the oven and get this baking. All right, so the cake is done. I did bake this quite a bit longer than what the recipe said to. Um, it said 50 to 60 minutes, and I think I baked it about an extra 15 to 20 minutes or thereabouts just because it was still really soupy and battery and all of that, but it looks really good now. It smells really good. I did cover it with foil because it was getting really brown, and it still is really brown, but it does look pretty good. And like I said, it smells really good. I can't wait to give it a try, but it does have to cool a bit before we can finish this. I'm going to let it cool a little bit, and then I'm going to remove the side of my springform pan. Um, After it's completely cooled, we will make the frosting. We're going to cut this in half and put a layer of frosting on the bottom and then a layer of bananas and then put the top back on and frost the entire thing. I am super anxious to give this a try. I will be back once this is cooled. Okay, so my cake is nice and cool. I am just going to leave it just like that for now, and we will get started on the frosting. After the frosting is done, I will cut this in half and we will start assembling the cake. but for now, let's focus on the frosting. So for the frosting, we have some cream cheese here. I've got lemon zest. We're going to be using some lemon extract. We're going to use just a little pinch of salt and some powdered sugar. And that is everything for the frosting. It looks really easy to make. So let's get started. All right, so for our first step, we are going to just beat up the the cream cheese until it is nice and smooth. And then we are going to add everything else to it. Once I have this beaten up, I will be back. All right, so the cream cheese is all nice and smooth now. I am going to add the rest of the ingredients, so the powdered sugar, lemon zest, lemon extract, and a piece of salt, and get that all mixed together. Once I have that done, I will show you guys what it looks like. All right, so the frosting is done. It looks really good. Um, I do have to say it didn't make as much as I thought it was going to, which is great. I thought I was going to have a ton of frosting here just based off of the amount of like cream cheese I needed, but there's really not a ton, at least not for the size of the cake that I have. So let's get started with assembling our cake. All right, so I have my cake cut in half. This is the bottom half here. I put a thin layer of frosting on it, and then I put on a layer of sliced bananas on that. We are going to put our top layer back on top and finish frosting this. Once I have it completely finished, I will be back. All right, so I have the cake all finished. It is all nice and frosted. I am going to give this a try and then I will be back with my final thoughts. All right, so I am back with my final thoughts on the Bang Up banana cake. I thought it was really good. I probably will make this again in the future. If I do, I think I will probably bake it in two separate layers instead of the one big cake, like two smaller layers instead of the one big layer, just to make it a little bit easier with the assembly part. The cake was really good. The frosting was excellent. Um, if you have this cookbook, I definitely recommend making it. Um, if you have made it, please let me know what you think. Um, please like this video if you liked it. Please make sure you're subscribed. And next week, we will be back with the start of the 1930s chapter from Baking Yesteryear with the icebox cookies. And until then, good times, good food. Bye.